Hi, I'm Joanne from Middletown Parks Rec, and I'm here to show you how to make my famous 3-cheese ziti. This is a great comfort food, and it's a great food to feed to a crowd. It'll last you a long time. It'll serve about 8 people for full servings. So the first thing you need is a pound of ziti. I happen to have penne here because when I went to the store there was no ziti. Penne, rigatoni, or ziti work very well. So any tube-shaped pasta is great. Just cook it according to the package directions for al dente, and I'm going to be throwing mine in right now for 11 minutes. While that's cooking, you get your cheese ingredients ready. You need 15 ounces of ricotta cheese. You need a half a teaspoon of salt, quarter teaspoon of pepper, and a quarter teaspoon of garlic powder. Now in my family we've never measured anything, so I had to really research to do this. Stir those in. And then the key ingredient, I think, is your Pecorino Romano cheese. You can use Parmesan, but Pecorino Romano is a little more potent than Parmesan cheese. That's the one I prefer. You use what you prefer. I have a half a cup of that. And then we're going to put in dried parsley. Now when you put that in, it's a tablespoon of dried parsley. I like to crush it in my hand because it kind of wakes up the flavor. Yes, I've washed my hands before we started. And I'm going to stir that all together. The one ingredient I forgot to get out was the mozzarella cheese, which I'm going to get out of the refrigerator right now. You need 2 cups of the mozzarella cheese, which that's what comes in these packages, is 2 cups. We're going to put 1 of the cups in with this right now so that it is in our cheese filling. And this all could be done while you're making your pasta boil. The pasta boils in about 11 minutes for the brand that I'm using. You want to make sure you do it to al dente because you're going to be baking it and it's going to keep cooking. So al dente is perfect for this use. I'm going to stir my pasta. And then I'm going to prepare my pan. The pan I like to use is the disposable half-sheet catering pans. Yes, use something nicer when you're having company, but I find this is so much easy cleanup. When you use the Corelle dishes or whatever else you use, Pyrex dishes, it tends to bake onto it and it's hard to clean. So this is what I like to use, and it's perfect for if you're having a buffet. I use my favorite jarred sauce, and I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom, and I'm just going to shake it around to cover the bottom, because when you're going to put the pasta in, it'll stick to that since it's hot and starchy, so you don't want to do that. So I just coat the bottom of my pan with it. I use the kind of sauce that is tomato and basil because I think the basil gives it a great flavor. So the kind that I like to use is the tomato and basil. If you don't have one with tomato and basil, you could put your own basil in it, or you could even use a meat sauce, because the meat sauce sometimes people like to have in their ziti. So we're going to go stir our pasta again. And we'll come back in a few minutes when that's done. And we're back for part two. Our pasta is boiled. There's one key ingredient I didn't give you, which is an egg. Very key ingredient. Not many people put it in there. All the recipes I researched, I didn't see many that had an egg in it. Some did. But what I do is I mix an egg in with the cheese. It kind of adds to the creaminess of it and helps spread it throughout the dish. So I'm going to mix that in and make it all nice and creamy. As I said, our pasta boiled for 11 minutes. It's nice and al dente. Al dente means to the bite in Italian, and to the bite means it's still got some texture there. It's nice and firm. So when you bake it, it doesn't get mushy. So I'm stirring this in very thoroughly. And I know I'm going to get in trouble for doing this, but I need to taste it. In my house, we never measured, as I said, and I cook with my taste. So after I finish this, yes, it has raw egg in it, but I'm taking very, very little just to taste it, to make sure it's how I like it. Very little. That's good. As long as I can taste that delicious Pecorino Romano cheese in it, we're going to have a great dish here. So now I'm going to get my drained pasta and put it in the pan. You move it to the front here. And now I'm going to add the rest of the jar of sauce. I add a little bit of water in here just to get the rest of it out. The dish can use lots of moisture, so that's not going to hurt it at all. Put that in the recycle bin. And now I'm going to stir it around. Yes, I could use the same spoon that I used for the cheese, because we're going to be adding more of the cheese in. So I'm just trying to keep it from sticking together right now. The sauce will help you do that. All right, now we're ready for the cheese. Just going to plop it in all around the dish. Stir it a little bit so it's not all doing it at once. Oops, one for me. I'm going to wash my hands. Now I'll put the rest of the cheese in. I am not a trained chef. I have worked as a food consultant for many years when I was raising my kids, and worked for some major food companies, major food distributors, in demonstrating, in recipe development, in recipe testing, and I learned a lot, and I'm very grateful for that. A friend of mine who works in the industry recognized that I like to cook, and she asked me to come aboard. And I had a great part-time job while I was raising my kids. Okay, now I have it all the way throughout my dish. So there's a mixture of ricotta cheese, mozzarella cheese, and Pecorino Romano cheese. So there's our 3 cheeses. Now, on the recipe, which I'm going to be giving you, I will be posting this. It calls for 2 jars of, I think it's 24 ounces. Yes, 24 ounces of sauce. I like to have a second jar on hand because after I've mixed it, I like to cover the top with another layer of sauce. Oh, here it is. My spoon rest. So what I'm going to do is just going to sprinkle a little bit of sauce on the top. And I honestly feel that that kind of locks in some moisture, because I'm not going to stir that part in. I'm going to leave it sit on top and reserve this for when I'm serving it. Then we have something to put on our individual servings. And I'm just spreading it around. Kind of giving yourself a moisture layer on top. And I'm going to take the rest of our mozzarella cheese and sprinkle that on top, which also helps to lock in the moisture. And then if you want, you could top it off with a little bit more of the Pecorino Romano cheese or your Parmesan cheese, whichever one you feel you like to use. Okay, kind of looks like a pizza. And actually this is kind of like the ingredients of a pizza in a different form, which you have every food group. You have your starch, your vegetable, which is your tomato, and your protein, which is your cheeses. So we're all set. Put a little extra sprinkle. And we're going to cover this and get it in the oven. So when I thought I had all my ingredients and equipment out, I did not. That's why I had to run and get my aluminum foil. We're going to cover this. Some recipes say don't cover it. I think it's important to cover it to keep that moisture in. I'm going to cover it and put it in the oven for 25 minutes. The oven is preheated to 350. Which is all going to be on the written instructions that I will post for you. All on here. And we're going to put it in the oven. And we'll be back in 25 minutes for that. But while we're waiting, I'll just let you know that this is going to be posted on our Middletown Township Parks and Recreation Facebook page. And I tried my best. I've never written it down before. I thank my mother and my grandmother for teaching me the right way to cook. And I've gotten a lot of compliments on this dish. That's why I was asked to do this video. I'm giving it to anybody who's been sick, had a baby, had a happy occasion, brought it to a potluck dinner. It's really, really a comfort food, and you can't go wrong with baked ziti. Again, we're doing baked penne, but all it is, the only thing different is that they're angle cut and they have some ridges in it, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So keep it in mind for giving it to someone when you're going to a potluck dinner, and I hope you like it. I'm going to go back and show you the finished product, but I'm just telling you this now while we have some time. I'm not a professional chef. I'm a home cook, and everybody has their own way of doing things. I'm just giving suggestions for you to do that. How did I do it? And you can maybe incorporate it in how you do it, or say, oh, I don't like it, I'm going to keep my way. That's perfectly fine. I just think cooking is a great relaxation. and a good way to pass the time while we have these days to do that. So we'll see you in a little while. In 25 minutes, I'm going to come back. I'm going to take the cover off and let it cook for another 5 minutes just to dry the top and give it a little tiny golden brown on the top too. See you soon. Okay, 25 minutes has passed. I've just taken the cover off, and as you can see, it's just starting to melt, and we're going to let it go for another 5 minutes, and it's going to be nice and bubbly and a little starting to get golden brown, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, ziti is out of the oven, and it's a beauty. How do you like? I like. I can't wait to try it. So, another thing you can do is if you're making this for a party, don't bake it. Put it in the refrigerator covered, store it overnight. Next day the party's going to happen. Then put it in the oven before the party and it'll be nice and fresh. There's nothing wrong with cooking it ahead of time, but it's nice and fresh if you do it the day of, but it's certainly great as leftovers. Another thing is you can freeze this. It freezes really well, and what I like to do is divide it up into portions, put it into individual serving containers, and then put them in the freezer. Then you've got individual portions all ready to go. When you're using leftovers, just have a little extra sauce in case it needs some moisture. As you can tell, I like things not to be dried. So you can freeze it and have it for quite a long time. Unless you have a big family, then everybody has it. So I hope you enjoyed this. I was nervous doing this, and it worked out great. I did it all by myself, and we hope you enjoy it. If it works out, maybe we'll do some more recipes. Take care and be safe.